Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Planet Tyro podcast with your main host, Donald Wanda, and...
Catface Killer.
Oh boy, that's his name, don't forget it. You're gonna scare the people off with that killer name. Why'd you call yourself Killer, man? That's so scary.
Everybody gets confused when I call myself the old boy because they made that movie in America about the dude fucking his own daughter or whatever.
Wow. What a nice way to start the show. Violent incest. It's not him.
It's not my fault. You know, hey, Japan is notorious for that stuff, but how come when they bring it over from Japan, they add that? That's all I'm saying.
Ah, boy. We're not going to get topical, people. We're actually going to do an anime review. And ironically, recently, me and the old boy have actually recommended each other some titles. And in the next couple of recordings, you're going to hear some of that. And we're going to start with Moribito, Guardian of the Spirit. And this is one that I watched a long time ago. Spoiler alert, it's actually a favourite of mine. I recommended it to the old boy, and now I'm interested to get his opinion because he never saw it before. He watched it in a very timely fashion, to my surprise, and we're going to have a discussion about it with the fresh opinion and the old opinion. So hopefully, people, leave your comments down below and give us your thoughts as well, because we're open to hear it. So, old boy,
yes,
we're going to get started on Moribito. So, generally, how was your experience with Moribito?
Well, you know, I have trouble if something's not interesting to me, then it kind of tapers off. So the reason why I watched it in a timely manner is because I actually liked it. It's 26 episodes for one season, so it's a longer story, but I enjoyed it. I think it's more of like a slice of life than anything, and that's actually my favorite genre. Even though I don't really talk about slice of life titles. It's what I like the most. And I think it had a lot of that. It was like 85% slice of life. And then there's a little bit of other stuff, a little bit of intrigue and action.
So for the people who don't know what Moribito is about, would you mind giving us a brief synopsis of what it's about?
Where to start? I want to say one of the things I really liked about this story before I even started explaining it is it's different. They try a different route for storytelling than other people do. The main character is a female warrior, so that's already different. I mean, it's not that different, but when it's taking a more serious tone, it is. And she uses a spear instead of a sword, which I found that was something that was really interesting to me. And that's why when I didn't really know anything about it, I saw her walk around with a spear. I was like, oh, okay, I'll check it out just for that, probably alone. It's set in, I guess it's kind of like a feudal Japan, but it's not Japan. It's a different world. Like maybe the time period is kind of like that, but it's not Earth or Japan. It's a made-up world, and it follows this lady. She's a professional bodyguard, and a long time ago she swore an oath not to kill anybody, and that she would also save X amount of lives because X amount of lives were lost because of her, and that's her way of atonement. So on her final, I guess you would call life, I don't, the final reparation or whatever you want to call it, she's actually recruited by the queen, or second, I think there's like two queens or something, because they call her the second queen, but she's worried about her son. It seems like there's been a couple strange mishaps that could have killed him, and they don't seem fabricated. I mean, they seem fabricated, like not natural. So she wants to hire her, and initially the main character, whose name is Bolsa is hesitant to take this job, but she ultimately does because I actually forgot the reason. Do you remember?
Not necessarily. I think she's just persuaded over the course of a day or two, so it doesn't really. I think it matters at the time, but ultimately she just says she takes on the job anyway.
Over the course of the entire story, the reason isn't really that important.
Yeah.
But from that point on, because her charge is a prince, the first thing you gotta do is you gotta teach him to be like a normal kid, and you gotta get away from everybody. And it's just, like I said, a large portion of it is trying to teach this kid who he wasn't taught to be a normal person, so he has to learn how to be a person, really. I mean, instead of like an object that's revered, is kind of how feudal Japanese royalty was viewed back then. So there's that part in the beginning. I can see how some people don't like that because maybe it dragged on a little bit with 26 episodes.
Well, let me stop you there because we're gonna get into that little bit. I just want you to give a brief synopsis. So, what I want to jump in and say is, this is actually based off a fantasy novel series, not a manga series. And the reason why I want to make this differentiation in particular is written literature is always going to be different from these Japanese graphic novel mangas, especially in the writing. And I think that shows in the storytelling. A lot of people have said this is very much kind of an old Chinese literary tale that's somewhat fairy tale-ish in the way it's written. It isn't like you said, or I don't know if you said this before we recorded. It's more, you were saying that people that like shonen, that are more in tune with action, found this boring. And if you check out the reviews, I can affirm old boy's right. People found this boring. A lot of people found this boring because you called it slice of life. People called it boring as hell.
Oh, okay.
I found it very intriguing. I'm not going to deny it's slow paced, but I thought for what it was doing, it was great. And to jump in there, I will say, when there was action, the action was fucking good.
It was really good, yeah. I love those fight scenes.
So what do you think of the animation?
The animation quality was also very good. It never really dipped in my memory at any point. Like a lot of stuff we watched, there would be times where it looks really good and it looks like shit. This one was a high level the entire way through. Also, I didn't know it was based off of literary novels. If I had known that, it might have changed the way I viewed it, but I can see it now with the way that it was narrated and everything.
Well, to be fair, neither did I. I actually went back and there was a review where there were people going back and forth about it, and then someone had to clarify that this is based off literature, it's not just based off a novel with pictures. So you can see, and when I think back on it, I'm like, you know what, that's why this tuned to me more, because as you guys might notice, I read a lot of books and I'm attuned to a certain, I don't want to sound pompous or whatever, I'm a certain level of storytelling, a more complicated, sophisticated, adult type of storytelling, which you find in novels that arguably, I will put that in quotes, you don't find in comics or manga. So that's why, another reason why I think this appealed to me without even me knowing it. So you weren't the only one that didn't know. I just found out before I was doing this recording. So what do you think of the sound? And I'm interested because you seem to have a problem with English dubs. So I want to hear your opinion on this.
Yeah, one of the reasons why I've always read a lot of manga, and actually I used to read a lot of literary writing too, but now I just focus on manga because it's easier to access and everything with the internet.
Right.
I'm a speed reader. I read very fast. Like if there's subtitles, I can read usually what's in the subtitles before they even start talking.
Okay.
So that's why I prefer watching subbed stuff because, I hate to do this, especially because I actually know somebody's an aspiring voice actress. But typically, English dubbing is not that good from my experience. It's getting better, but it's still, at least on what appears to be like the emotional level, a lower level than the Japanese voice actors.
And in this case?
In this case, it was pretty good. I don't recall any voice acting that was bad or even really mediocre. I would say it was all, if I had produced something, I would have liked that level or higher, and if that was the level I had paid for, I would have been happy with it.
Same here. I think this is one of the better dubs. I think they were all cast greatly well. I do want to say, I want to break this down to characters because we don't do long podcasts anymore, people, but I do want to say Bolsa, the main character, is probably my favorite female character in the anime series, period. I love her personality. She's a badass. She's got one of the most loving, motherly spirits, and she's sensible. She's everything I would want in a female protagonist. And when I think about characters like her and Alita, and it's just like, wow, man, you can find great female, I don't want to say archetypes, you can find great female characters in graphic novels and comics and mangas as well. So I think this is another good shining example of a female character, and she's actually phenomenal, and she's beautiful for a kind of a butchy lady as well.
Butchy? I mean, yeah, I guess she does have some guns on her, like some Michelle Obama guns. But I think what I like the most about her is she starts out like a solid character, and she does have some self-discovery, some evolution, where she finds the maternal instinct in herself towards the end of the story. It comes over the course of the story, but it really shines at the end, which makes the ending, it gives it the sweetness to that bittersweet story, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, actually, we didn't even explain the most important part, which we're probably going to have to cut and throw in the beginning, is that The whole reason why people are possibly trying to kill this guy is not because he's a prince, but because he has some kind of mythological egg implanted in him from a spiritual world that overlaps this world.
Apparently, it's meant to be like some kind of water thing, and they think he's going to be a drought, and if they kill him, they'll prevent a drought or something like that.
Yeah, correct. Their legend, their historical legend is every 100 years somebody's afflicted like this, and if they kill him, it'll release the egg. And it's found out later on that's actually not right. I mean, over the course of 100 years.
But don't go into too many spoilers, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to go back and edit that in. Now, honestly, I don't want to get into spoilers. I do want to keep the mystery, and I think people get the general point, to be honest with you, because honestly, oh boy, I don't have that much more to say about the show. I really like the show. The only thing is, it really did disappoint me. So many people, well, to put it out there, people, most of the reviews are positive, 9s and 10s. It was when it aired in the US about 10 years ago. It was quite old, actually, believe it or not. It got wide acclaim. It was dubbed well. I think it was on the major kids network in America. But some of my buddies, I'm not going to name, that even anime reviews are like, it was boring. And I'm going to be critical and say, people say it's boring, I say it's slow. It's slow paced, and it does that. I'm not going to criticize people because I'm not saying, I'm not saying you can be slow and not boring. You can, but this is slow, and to me, it wasn't boring. But for some people, it was just straight boring. But for me, to each his own. You know, you might want more action shown and stuff, but then again, I'm a bit like, this is why anime now, they deal with a lot of popcorny, straight to the point action stuff, because when they make shows like this that are based off novels that have a lot more thought-provoking, character developing stuff going on, people find it boring, it doesn't sell well, and then they're like, oh fuck it, let's give them what they want, shonen, popcorn, bullshit. So I'm not getting on the soap opera people, but I kind of am. So you know, and you know what, I'm gonna just wrap this up and say, for a rating, this show is in my Hall of Fame. I absolutely love this show. From start to finish, I loved it from beginning to end. It had a great beginning, a great middle, a great end. Yes, it's slow, but it's exactly what I wanted. And honestly, I don't want to say it's perfect, but I just don't have a problem with it personally.
Hall of Fame, huh?
Yeah, for me.
I didn't like it that much. I do like it, understand me though. But, I mean, it's a little slow, which is not that big of a deal for me. I mean, I've literally read books that are over 1,000 pages. I actually got the Odyssey for my birthday, so I'm going to start reading that later. Spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about this. Yeah, but no, the Odyssey, you know, that had Odysseus in it, but not the Twilight Zone. What the hell is that?
I'm just making that sound. I know it's not related. I'm just making that sound.
Oh, okay. You know. But I think there's so much build up for what's going to be the climax, and then it's actually not that long of an event. So that kind of takes away from it. The ending, it trails off a little bit too, but I liked the ending. It was sweet. You know, the ending doesn't always have to be like this epic, brain-shattering, you know, sort of ordeal. It can be soft and nice like that too, and you can see somebody out pleasantly. So I think it's more of like a solid beat. It's what anime should be if it's going to be like a 26-episode season. In my opinion, it should be produced that well. It should be voice acted that well. The story should have a little bit more thought into it. The characters, they all they build up a level of repertoire and familiarity with each other that isn't like, you know, like when you talk about, especially people who want that pop, they want everything fast. Sometimes the stuff that happens in that quicker paced stuff, it just doesn't really seem organic, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you saved my life, now I'm your best friend, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, you know, this is more lifelike, you know, it takes time to build relationships. You build from the bottom up. If you don't have a strong foundation, it's easily breakable. And they do that in that faster paced stuff all the time. It's like the relationships are so flimsy. One little thing always breaks it apart really easily. But in this one, a lot of the hurdles are actually on the characters themselves, and they find it within themselves not to, you know, shatter their relationships. Yeah. It's good.
Oh, and you gave it a solid B. I got that in your little thing. You see, when I give my rating, I make it a grandiose thing. You're like, solid B.
Well, you do most of the talking most of the time, so I have to fit in my talking somewhere.
I know. So many people, you get the gist. I'm a bit, like I said, most people find it to be good, and I've always actually wanted to speak about this one, and I'm glad old boy enjoyed it, you know, because I'm not sure with you. But hey, see other people, check it out. So we'll end this recording here, but guys, you can always check out our reviews and discussions by clicking on the annotations that you will see on the screen now or in a couple of seconds. So you can actually contact me by Twitter or leave a comment down below by Twitter at Planet Tyro, or you can get this fellow on his Twitter, which is
at _old boy.
hashtag Catface Killer.
Hashtag Catfish Killer.
Alright, so we'll leave it there for now, people. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Peace.
Yeah, see you around. Peace.
Out.